This is the second part of the case of Stacey. It's not her real name. This has a couple of details about the animal, but no graphic ones. Please finish up here if you prefer. For those that stay, the animal survived and I understand lived happily ever after. It's August 2024 and I return back here to Maitland Local Court to hear Stacey be sentenced. The inspector is here, no one approaches me. In fact, I speak to no one. I sit alone in the fairly empty gallery. I still have no idea what the case is about, but at sentencing usually there is a lot of details, so I'm hoping I can get enough information to understand what the case is actually about. Stacey was charged under the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1979 and we're in New South Wales. It's the same as Kevin, which is the ongoing chicken and alligator case in the previous part. However, Kevin is charged with one count of aggravated animal cruelty, which is Section 6 under the Act, while Stacey is charged with one count of failing to provide food to an animal, which is Section 8. The law says a person in charge of an animal shall not fail to provide the animal with food, drink or shelter. The maximum penalty for an individual is $16,500 fine or 6 months imprisonment or both. The story goes, Stacey has 3 ponies which the RSPCA finds one in acceptable condition, the second is poor and the third is in very poor condition. I'm not going to describe the condition, but I'm just saying that there were detailed veterinary type evidence read out in court. By the way, the RSPCA removed the very poor pony and it responds well to the re-feeding program. Stacey has pled guilty and so will be sentenced. During this process, it's common to hear sentencing considerations. This is information the defence or the prosecution choose to put forward for the magistrate to consider when deciding on the sentencing. So we hear about Stacey's background. By the way, she's 41 years old. We hear about her level of education, her relationships, family dynamic, and financial situation. The next bit is a bit confusing because it's unclear what the relevance is to the ponies not being fed. But the court hears Stacey was a victim of a stabbing a few years ago. It doesn't matter because the magistrate straightens out the story when they deliver the sentencing shortly after. Basically, it goes along the lines of your choice to have an animal. The animal is wholly dependent on you for food. You didn't feed the animal and no one else is to blame. Then this next bit, I held my breath. Stacey, who's sitting in the defendant's chair behind the solicitor's bench, attempts to talk over the top of the magistrate while they're delivering the sentence. Now, Stacey only managed to get half a word out because "don't interrupt" comes back at her at lightning speed. It was slightly terrifying. Stacey is convicted and given a 12-month community correction order. The court also has powers under Section 31 of the Act to make orders, which they do. Stacey is disqualified for 2 years from purchasing, owning or having an animal in her custody. She also must forfeit an animal. She's ordered to pay the animal care cost, which comes to about $5,500, plus professional costs, which is about $300, and given a fine of $1,100, which will go to the RSPCA. Part of sentencing includes sending a message to others that choosing to own an animal comes with responsibility and that there are consequences for failing to provide for an animal. Basically, it's about sending a message to others to deter them from doing the same crime. But how can we be deterred if we don't hear about the case? Can't find out any information in the public domain about this case. It's not printed in the paper or media releases. However, there's heaps of information about Kevin's case, which I'm all for people hearing about and deterring people from doing things to chickens with an alligator. But let's face it, how many times do you interact with an alligator? Whereas an animal like a pony, people are more likely to interact with. You are more likely to own a pony than an alligator in New South Wales. We see ponies in public places like the show, but I'm yet to see an alligator at Maitland Show. What I'm saying is, isn't there a greater need to talk about cases that involve domestic animals, like ponies rather than alligators, because the public are more likely to interact with them? I think it's a missed opportunity to get the information into the public domain and for deterrence to have a chance, particularly where it involves animals that are more at risk of animal cruelty from people. I will let you know if I accidentally come across another animal cruelty case in the New South Wales Local Court while we wait for Kevin's hearing in September 2024.